XS Wireless Digital is the perfect wireless audio solution for content creators and filmmakers. Thanks to a 2.4 GHz transmission, XS Wireless Digital is a truly plug-and-play system that allows you to upgrade your in-camera audio with one-button operation. With a variety of configurations to choose from, this entry point into the world of wireless will improve your workflow and will expand the possibilities of how you capture audio for your video. For more information, visit sennheiser.com/XSWD.
The new Super 35 sensor that Canon have introduced with the C300 Mark III is quite a big step up from other S35 sensors that they have created before. From the body and the flexibility that gives us in terms of the expansion packs and the interchangeable mount, to the sensor with its increased dynamic range for tackling scenes that possibly we couldn't have tackled or captured faithfully before, I can get more out of this camera. My money goes further. It's as simple as that from a business standpoint. From a creative point of view, it's unquestionably unlocking more creative avenues for us as filmmakers.
Hello everyone, welcome back to ProAV TV, to our informal little weekly Q&A section, bit of a chit chat about anything that you guys want in particular. So I can see the YouTube live chat and any Facebook comments that are happening right here on my laptop next to me. So leave this entire live stream is purely dedicated to, apart from a little bit at the beginning where I want to talk about this slider, but the majority of this is all dedicated to whatever you guys want to talk about. So say hi down there, tell me where you're watching from, tell me what kit you're using, tell me any questions you have or thoughts you want to bring up, anything like that in the chat down below. Let's get talking. I'm sorry we didn't do this yesterday. We're doing this on Tuesday. Normally we do this at this time, but every single Monday. Didn't do it yesterday simply because I wasn't at work. I had a day off for my wife's birthday. So I was at home eating lots of food and relaxing rather than being here at work. So sorry about that, but I had a lovely day. So let's talk about some cameras. At first, I want to talk about the Shark Slider Nano. If any of you haven't already seen this, this is the iFootage Shark Slider Nano. So the iFootage brand has had Shark sliders for quite a while, big manual ones normally, or then the Shark Slider Mini, which was a really cool little expanding design. This is the Nano, so it's sort of the most compact of the bunch. It's actually slightly larger than the Mini in its smallest configuration, but you can't expand this anymore. And this one has that sort of doubled up design where the base plate will move along the tripod, so you get twice the length when this is on a tripod. But what this is designed for is for really quickly getting out your bag, slapping on a tripod and doing quick motion controlled shots like this one that's going here. So this took me 2 seconds to set up. I'll cancel it. So sure, right, get out of that menu, go to home. So what I do is I click quick start, press these two buttons to get it into manual mode. I take it to my start point A, I take it to my start point B, I hit confirm and stand by, and then it will go back to its beginning and then it will start to move. Except it won't, because I think I messed things up and did them in the wrong order. Let's start that again. 1, 2, confirm, do that. There we go. Now it's going back to the beginning. And then it starts. The way that it's able to do that is that the turn mechanism is built into the carriage itself. So this is just a manual slider head. So normally these motion control systems have to have a 3-axis thing here on the top, plus a slide controller, all the rest of it. This one just has a manual tripod head on top of the slider, and it actually turns the base that the manual tripod head is sitting on in order to pan the camera left and right. And then, so there's no tilt mechanism at all. It's just panning left and right and sliding left and right. But with that, you can create some really cool little panning interview shots, for example, panning product shots. Lots of it you don't actually need tilt for. And so for that sort of thing, this is a fantastic tripod. For any of these smaller cameras, I really recommend it. Not tripod, slider. We've covered this on the channel. I've spoken about it lots of times before. This isn't new, so why am I talking about it now? Well, for most of its life, it has been fairly hard to come by. It's been out of stock for a long time. Canon iFootage did this partnership deal with like a sponsored video with Gerald Undone when they launched it, and sold tons of them off the back of it. I think as soon as people saw it from a big YouTuber like that, they went, "Ooh, that looks quite good," and ordered it in the droves. And so it has been out of stock pretty much the entire time since. But now it finally is in stock. We've got a whole bunch of them arriving this week. And so we've got good stock and availability of the Shark Slider Nano now. So rather than just trickling out there to a few customers, we're going to have actual free stock sitting downstairs so that you can ring it up, next day delivery, off we go. And it's a really good price as well. So this is the bundle kit. So the bundle kit, well, let's show you the standard kit. So the standard kit is this one first, which is only £395 ex-VAT. So for that, you basically get a full motorized control system. You just need to add a tripod head to the top, and you can add any flat-based head But yeah, but for that, you just get the actual slider Nano itself, a USB-C power cable, and a little phone holder thing that goes on the top, because this, of course, works really well with smartphones as well if you happen to be doing video on your smartphone. The bundle includes the shutter cables for time-lapse work, 1 MPF battery with it, and the actual bag to keep it all in. And then we do a few other little bundles as well as that. We do the bundle and the standard versions, but with a tripod head included, and we call that the Bundle Plus and the Standard Plus. And then we do the Speed Plus, which is the same thing, but with their quick star release plates, which basically just means that you can really quickly snap a tripod head on, snap it off, sort of swap what's on top of your tripod, whether it's the slider or just a pure tripod head. You can quick release to your heart's desire is the idea. So yeah, a bunch of different things, and the actual slider itself, we're going to have a lot of stock this week. So if anyone sitting at home is waiting for it, I thought I would let you know. Cool. Marshall says, welcome from Canada. Hello. Thank you very much for joining me, Marshall. And hi, I'm McNeil Bell from Boston. Wow. I have a question with the new Ninja 5 Plus. Will the Canon R5 be the best mirrorless camera to get, and will it be a game changer? I don't think it justifies the term game changer. I mean, it's not changing the way that anyone's going to do anything. I think it will really change how that camera is perceived for video. We don't know a huge amount of details about it yet, though. Canon themselves haven't made the announcement that it's happening yet. Only Atomos have. But what Atomos is saying is that you will unlock 8K RAW from that camera into 8K up to 30 frames a second ProRes RAW recording onto the Ninja 5 Plus, which is remarkable. It really is a huge achievement being able to do that in such a small portable package just over an HDMI cable. That is very, very impressive. And so we don't know any details of how it's going to do that. We don't know if it's still going to have its overheating limitations or anything like that. But we will have to wait and see. If it doesn't overheat, that is really going to change things for the R5's video, because the R5 can currently do 8K RAW or 8K normal and H.265 internal, but it will overheat on both of them. So for short bursts, it's absolutely brilliant. But for any sort of sustained video work and paid work on a shoot, you know, you're going to run up against some overheating problems most likely. And so most people tend to avoid it for that sort of work, just dipping in and out of those modes when needed. If this can record that externally with no overheating problems at all, then that will be a game changer for that camera. Not a game changer for the industry. You know, we've got 8K RAW, we've got those sorts of things already. But the price point of that setup, you know, yes, the Ninja 5 is going to be quite expensive, and the Canon R5 is hardly the cheapest camera on the market, is it? But the combination of them both to get 8K RAW video recording, unlimited if they don't have any heat issues, you know, that's remarkably cheap for what that can do, because the quality of the 8K internal recording is very, very good on the R5. It's very, very good indeed. So I think that will be a fantastic combination. Will it be the best mirrorless camera to get? Do you mean get with the Ninja 5, or do you just mean get in general? Because lots of people don't want to use the Ninja 5 if they don't have to, and obviously it puts it at a price point that's way above something like the A7S Mark III, for example, or the S1H from Panasonic. And so I don't think it necessarily means that the R5 necessarily completely beats all of those, but they will, but it will certainly do something that those cameras can't. I mean, if you think about the A1, for example, from Sony, that's $6,500 as a mirrorless camera, and that will get you unlimited 8K recording, but it won't do 8K RAW. And that's $6,500. That's sort of a similar price point to the Ninja 5. In fact, I think it's more than the Ninja 5 and the R5 combined, Ninja 5 Plus, that is. So I think that's going to be superb value for money. But like I keep saying, we don't know the details yet. We're making a lot of assumptions there, and they might well still have those overheating issues when it's recording raw externally. So we don't really know enough information yet to go off there. But I'm very excited to see what that update is going to look like from Canon and to see some of those details. And I'm also very excited to find out when it's going to be, because I think Atomos just said in 2021. And so if that happens, if it normally says in 2021, that normally means it's going to be towards the end of the year. So, you know, we often see lots of announcements around September, October, that sort of time when IBC is, which is a big trade show in the industry. So could be around there, could be sooner. Who knows? Okay, Mr. B. Hi, a lot of the new Aperture products have been out of stock for a while. Any queue of ETA from them? Yes, they are out of stock for a while. They are very, very high demand. Presumably by the new Aperture products, you mean the Amaran line, so the 100 and the 200D, or the new Aperture 60X and 60D. They are in a lot of demand. I don't think we have stock of any of them. Let's just see on the website. So yeah, our website does show when we've got something in stock. For example, if you see here on the standard kit, you can see that we have 4 in stock of that. So that will immediately get out. You order that today, it will be with you next day. Whenever we don't say in stock, we say usually delivered in 1 to 2 days or 2 to 4 weeks or whatever. That's just a custom message that we put on there that is roughly the normal lead times from that manufacturer. So it's very, very much an estimate. It means that we're at the mercy of how long it's going to take the manufacturer, in this case Aperture, to actually deliver it to us and then to you. And on the Amarans, yeah, we don't have the 100D. I don't believe we have the 200D either. Let's have a little look. No, we don't. Don't believe we have the 60D. Nope. Or the 60X. They are in such high demand right now. They really are. They're so popular as lights. It's not that we're just not getting any stock. We are getting trickles of stock through, but we can't keep any in stock because they just get sold too quickly. So if you want one and you're waiting for them, make sure you've got an order on somewhere, like here, so that you can be in that queue, because otherwise you'll just be waiting forever. If you're waiting for them to just be available in free stock, you're going to be waiting for an awful lot longer than if you actually joined the queue waiting for them now by putting an order down. If you speak to our sales team, they'll be able to help you with that and arrange, to pay when you ship and all that sort of stuff. So you're not missing anything by waiting for them. But there you go. Because yeah, they are brilliant lights. I think we're still saying, I think this sort of 4 to 6 weeks lead time is probably fairly accurate at the moment. I don't have the most up-to-date information. The sales team will for that. Okay, Marshall says, can you give your thoughts on the image quality between the C70 and the Pocket 6K Pro? My only real hesitation is the lack of continuous autofocus with the 6K Pro. Yeah, there is no continuous autofocus. There's very rough push button autofocus. Basically, you hold on what you want on the screen to be in focus. It will hunt around a bit and then find it. Great. And it also takes a while to register. It's not like a little tap like on Canon stuff, so you can quickly tap on different things. It's hold. Is it going to do it? Is it going to do it? Oh, yep, there we go. It's done it. It's a very, very basic autofocus system on the Blackmagics. So obviously the Canon is a clear winner in terms of autofocus. In terms of image quality, it's a very interesting battle. So obviously the Pocket 6K Pro is higher resolution, it's 6K. 6K Pro also has RAW inside. Blackmagic RAW is a lovely, lovely format. So in ideal situations, I personally think the Pocket 6K Pro really punches well above its weight. The C70 though does have lovely image quality. I'm a big fan of that sensor that's inside the C70 and the C300 Mark III. It's one of my favorite sensors on the market right now from Canon. This DGO technology I think is really gonna underpin a lot of what Canon do in the future. Hopefully, I think it's really going to push things forward for them in terms of image quality and dynamic range. I really love the image quality coming out of the C70 and the C300 Mark III. The dynamic range is really so close to, you know, the Arri Alexas of the world. It's very, very impressive. So I think it's a difficult one between the C70 and the 6K Pro, because technically I would say I'd prefer the sensor of the C70, but the recording formats on the C70 are nowhere near as good as on the 6K Pro. The RAW on the 6K Pro is brilliant, and then the ProRes is brilliant. It's a fantastic in terms of codecs and recording choices. 6K Pro, fantastic camera. I think for me, the C70 would still ever so slightly edge it, unless I knew I really wanted the flexibility that those codecs would bring me. I knew I was going to do a lot of post-production work, in which case the 6K Pro would be the route I'd go down. The reason I say the C70 would take it is because I think it is quite close, and in an uncontrolled environment, so at a higher ISO, or if you want to do slow motion, or if you need to use the ND filters, I think the C70 wins it, because the Pocket 6K Pro, yes, it now has built-in ND filters, but they're not quite as good quality as the ones inside the Canon one, so they have a bit more of a color tint to them than the Canons. So, you know, we're splitting hairs here. They're both absolutely fantastic cameras, and if you go with either of them, you are absolutely not going to be disappointed on image quality. Believe me, they are both really strong performers. I would tend to lean a little bit more myself towards the C70 of the two because of that. Okay, Video Editor Bloke. Hello again. Thank you for watching every one of these Video Editor Blokes. Great to see you back. So, what 5-inch monitors towards the cheaper end of the market can be used outdoors in daylight? What's the brightness needed for use on a sunny day? Great question. So, in terms of nit values, you know, anything 400 nits or under, you're going to really struggle. That's sort of the average monitor that isn't advertised as being high brightness. You're going to start to see things being advertised as daylight viewable or high brightness monitors from anywhere from 800 up. Now, personally, I find that a little bit misleading. I don't think 800 is necessarily a daylight viewable monitor. You know, you're not going to wander out into the California sun with an 800 nit monitor and be able to see that thing crystal clearly. You know, you're just not. And so, yes, 800 obviously is a big improvement over 300 or 400, huge improvement, but it's still not quite enough for me to feel comfortable with it on a sunny day. 1200 is about where I sort of say it starts to become great. Really, you want 2000 for it to be that. Yeah, I can see this nice and clearly, and anything above 2000, great. So, you know, we see some 3000 monitors, all the rest of it. So in 7-inch monitors, there's quite a lot of good choice. So the one that I recommend a lot is the SWIT, so the CM-S75. And there's a C and an F of this monitor, so the C is HDMI only and the F is SDI. And it is a ridiculously good price, considering this is a 3000 nit monitor. This is a really, really good buy. From SWIT, because you get a huge, colossal amount of brightness in a monitor which has a very nice panel and is a very sensible monitor all around. You know, it's nicely balanced with the battery, you get good in and out ports, you get a great interface with the joystick control, all the tools you need, your waveforms, your vector scopes, your lookup tables, all of that sort of stuff is there. False color, all of it. So that is a solid recommendation, but that's 7-inch. There's also some other really nice 7-inch monitors from Small HD. So there's the Small HD 702 Touch, which is a very nice monitor. This is obviously priced a lot higher, but this is a really nice monitor. 1500 nits brightness, so it's not as bright, but it's still in that, very much in that daylight viewable category for me. We speak to Philip Bloom a lot, and he really likes this monitor. He goes on and on about it, calling it his favourite monitor of all time, which is just sort of shows how much he likes using this. And I do see why. It's really nicely built. It's got a wonderful interface on it with a touchscreen control. Really lovely. Video Bloke says, I can nearly always see my iPhone outside. Yep. Depending on what iPhone you've got, it could be anywhere between 600 nits brightness and 1000 nits brightness, your iPhone. The iPhone 12 Pro, for example, Dan is saying here in the chat, is 800 nits. So yeah, one of these is going to be brighter than your iPhone screen. And yes, you can see it clearly and you can see what's on it, but you can't necessarily judge the picture and see it as well as you could inside. Bear in mind though, when I'm saying those things, that I'm not taking into account reflections at all. There's two difficulties when you're working with a monitor outside. That's brightness levels and that's reflections. And a high bright monitor will get around the brightness levels. It won't get around the reflections. And so shielding from reflections and angling away from shiny things and stuff is still very much needed, and people often still use a sun hood just because of that, just because it blocks out reflections. So bear in mind that there's two things going on there, but brightness certainly helps. In 5-inch monitors, there's not anywhere near as much choice. So there's the Small HD 503, which is a very, very bright 5-inch monitor. 2200 nits for a 5-inch is huge. But obviously that comes with a big price tag. It's not a cheap little monitor. Swit's version of in their lineup is not as bright. So they have the CM55C, which again is a lovely little monitor. But I believe this is only 800 nits or something. Yeah, 450. So this isn't really daylight viewable outside. So this is a sort of normal monitor brightness rather than the high bright of their 7-inch one. Let's see what other monitors we've got that I can recommend for you. 5-inch, and let's include 5.5-inch. So the Ninja 5 is 1000 nits, so the Ninja 5 would actually probably, or the Shinobi, I suppose, for a monitor only. The Shinobi would be a good choice for a 5-inch because it's 1000. That's probably going to be your cheapest high bright monitor out there. And of course that comes with a nice interface with Atomos's interface. What else have we got? I think that's probably about it really. I mean, the TV Logic one I don't think is anything brighter. It's an OLED. So that goes down. The Focus is 800 nits, which again, I sort of don't think is really bright enough for that. So yeah, I think I would go for the Shinobi for a 5-inch, but if you can step up to a 7-inch, you get way more options. Okay. McNeil Bell says, thank you very much for answering. Continue doing the great work even from Boston. I look forward to your videos. No, thank you very much for watching. And we ship worldwide, so if you want to support us and buy anything on the website, next time you need to buy something, we do ship worldwide. Okay. I think that's actually it for questions. If you've got any more questions, people, let me know. If not, we'll call this fairly early then, because we have got a lot else to get on with. Cubase Elementary says, did you see yesterday's GH5 Mark II leak? Any more info? The way these releases work, Cubase, is if I knew about it, I would be under an NDA. So I am not able to acknowledge whether a GH5 Mark II exists or doesn't exist. And if I did know anything about it, I would not be able to confirm or deny any of the rumours. Otherwise, Panasonic will sue me. What I can do without getting sued is look up what the rumours were on. What rumours were they on? Were they on Micro Four Thirds rumours or something like that? Yeah, 4/3 rumours. Here we go. Full GH5 Mark II specs. Oh, right. What are they saying? They're saying Micro Four Thirds. That's hardly surprising. Oh, blimey. This is rather incomprehensible, isn't it? This is just a full-on spec sheet. Have they written any actual articles which... Oh, here we go. 4K 60p. VF. Sure. I mean, what do people think of the specs that you have seen so far? If anyone out there is out there waiting for the GH5 Mark II, what do you think? I would be curious to see what you all have thought of any leaks that have come out. Okay, video editing bloke again. Also, with cameras generating bigger video files, do you get any idea from your customers what they will do for storing all that footage? Do most people just end up with boxes of hard drives? Yes, that is exactly what most people do. Everyone has to decide what their policy is going to be with their customers as to storing footage. Do you store everything? Do you store only the final high resolution video files? You know, lots of people charge customers differently depending on what they're going to do with their video and whether or not they're going to need to come back to it in the future, all of that sort of stuff. A lot of people build the cost of a hard drive into the project and say, right, yep, you can hire me for X amount and get this hard drive as well to store it all on. That, you know, that's part of doing the video project, is buying the hard drive that's going to store that video project, that sort of thing. So lots of customers do different things there. In terms of long-term storage, we haven't really seen the uptake amongst the everyday sort of video creator for any of the technologies that have come along to help that, like optical discs and stuff like that. We might see that become more of a thing in the future. Who knows? For now, most people are using solid state drives rather than hard drives because they've got a bit longer lifespan, and yeah, doing exactly that, ending up with a whole box of drives. Cameron Alston, hi Carl, can you recommend a good video monopod? Yes, definitely can, and it's actually the same brand as this slider that's next to me. So the Cobra 2 is hands down the best video monopod I have used ever. Really, I love them. I think they're brilliant. And actually, shout out to other YouTubers, but the DP Review guys did a little love letter video to the Cobra 2 monopod recently, which I saw, yeah, this, which really is worth a watch. So Jordan, one of the guys at DP Review, I'm sure all of you watch his videos, basically released this video, which is just an absolute glowing endorsement of it. It really couldn't be any more positive. It's nothing to do with iFootage, he says. It's just purely he's been using it and he loves it. And I can absolutely believe that, because it is just a really nicely designed monopod and a quite a good price point as well, for what it is. You can't film someone got a haircut. I did get a haircut. Up until this point, I'd just been under lockdown, trying to cut it myself and make myself look half presentable for these live streams. I finally actually got to go to a barber and get an actual haircut. So yeah, I look a little bit more presentable, hopefully. Cubase Elementary is talking about the GH5 Mark II rumours. Looks like a slight upgrade and a lower price point, not the GH6 we were hoping for, although that may still come, of course. And I think that is the key. Panasonic, I believe, are very aware that everyone is waiting for the GH6. And I think if they were not that interested in the Micro Four Thirds line, they were just ticking along, I think they would have called whatever this camera is a GH6. If they are going to call it a GH5 Mark II, I think that is very telling to Panasonic's point of view on it, where, like you say, that looks like a slight upgrade, not this generational leap. So it might well be that the GH6 is still in the works if all of this is true. So yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Cubase. Sky London says, any idea on stock updates for the Zoom FTs or the Tentacle Track E? Thanks, I'm afraid I don't. I never have the up-to-date, unless I've been told it before coming on here by the sales team. Say, oh, please mention this because this is coming out in stock and people have been waiting for it. I really don't have very up-to-date information on lead times, unfortunately. The sales team are fantastic with things like that though, and so please do just get in touch with the sales team, send them an email, pick up the phone and speak to them yourself, or ping us a question and we'll find out from the sales team and come back. But here live on camera, I just don't have information, unfortunately, I'm afraid, and I don't have the system open to check it during the stream. I'm sorry, I just don't want to tell you the wrong information. Marshall saying, I can endorse Carl's choice of the iFootage Cobra. Brilliant design. Absolutely. I really can't recommend it enough. Cubase says, I have a proper question. Proper question. Cool. Will the forthcoming paid for upgrade for the Ninja 5 mean that I'll be able to record in all-I codec via HDMI on my S5? No. So you can already record an all-I codec in HDMI on your S5 by recording in ProRes. ProRes is an all-I codec. The paid-for upgrade for the Ninja 5 is going to unlock H.264 and H.26... No, not H.265 on the Ninja 5, just H.264. Or is it Ninja 5 as well? Yeah, so H.264 and H.265 on the Ninja 5. That will be long op. That will be normal delivery method encoding in the same way as it would be if you exported an H.264, H.265 from your editing software. So it won't be all-I, it will be long op in those. Well, we don't know that for certain, but I would be very surprised if it was long op, was all-I. I'm sure it would just be a normal standard H.264, H.265 long op encoding, because it's designed to not be edited that much afterwards or to be much longer run times. And so they already have a fantastic all-I codec. They've always had that. That's ProRes. So with that, you can record all-I from your S5. Cameron says, thanks, and a reasonable fluid head for the monopod. Yeah, absolutely. So they do it with their little fluid head, which is the K5, which is this head that's on the slider next to me. So this is the Cobra 2 aluminium one with the K5 head. So it's a nice little head. What I love about this head is that it's absolutely tiny. So it really helps keep things down. It doesn't give you any variable friction or fluid dampening at all, or counterbalance. It just is what it is set to. You don't get any control over that. For that, you need to step up to a different, bigger sized one. So there's the normal Manfrotto ones that everyone is familiar with. There's iFootage do a larger version of this called the K7, I believe. Is it called the K7? Yeah, there we go. That. So they do this one, which you could use, which has the dampening and everything like that in a similar sort of size footprint, which we have in stock actually, but obviously that comes with a bit more of a price tag on it, as would most of these. You could even go as far as to use one like the EMH GH6F, which is pretty much my favourite tripod head on the market, but that's substantially bigger. So it would be a bit top heavy, I think, on top of a monopod like that. So I think I would recommend this Komodo one that they make to go alongside it, because it just is seamless. It works really well with it. If you want the more variable control over it, then going to the K7 might well be worth it. Okay, where did we get to? Ben Grafton, any news on APS-C R-mount cameras? R7, no, I haven't heard anything. And again, if I had been told anything, it would be under NDA, so I wouldn't be able to share. But no, Canon haven't mentioned anything about APS-C in any of their press releases or anything like that for a long time, have they? In DSLRs, their whole mirrorless lineup so far in the pro level has been revolving around full frame, and they've got some fantastic full frame offerings. You know, the RP is remarkably priced for what it is, and so that I think is quite interesting. I would love to see a pro APS-C body from them, but what will it bring? If it's priced, the RP, it's going to be hard priced to get much cheaper than the RP. The RP is already a fantastic price and cheaper than kept DSLRs like this 7D Mark II was, for example. So that's already a really good entry-level professional price point. If it's increased speed, you know, the R5 and the R6 can do really high frame rate shooting. You know, in the DSLR lineup, it always used to be the 5D if you wanted the high quality image quality, and the 7D if you wanted the lower megapixel but higher burst rates. And that hasn't translated to the mirrorless lineup. They've got both, you know, they've got the R5, which can do 20 frames a second, more than the 7D ever could, and at 45 megapixels. So that is they sort of don't really need to go for an APS-C anymore. So I think that might be why they haven't got an APS-C yet, is because why would you be going for that smaller sensor size in a stills camera if you don't have to, if you're not going to get cheaper or you're not going to get faster, or unless they go even cheaper than the RP, or if they go even faster than the R5, maybe they will. Okay, Mukari Films, I'm curious about ProRes RAW. Does the A7S III record RAW or not? I want RAW perks. Would you personally prefer to rig up a Blackmagic 6K Pro or go with an A7S III? I already own an A7 III and need a video first camera. Right, they're very different cameras. So the A7S III will be a much more expensive camera than the Pocket 6K Pro if you want to record RAW. The A7S III is a more well-rounded camera. You know, you can strip the A7S III down, you can record documentary mode if you like, with long run times in smaller codecs, or you can stick a Ninja 5 on the top and record RAW. I personally prefer Blackmagic's RAW format of Blackmagic RAW to ProRes RAW. I think it's a more flexible format. It works in Resolve, which is my grading software of choice. And, you know, if you're going to be using a RAW format, you normally want to do quite heavy grading to that, and that's why you're doing a RAW format. And so for me, where I want to do that grading is DaVinci Resolve. It's not Final Cut or Premiere Pro or anything like that. It's DaVinci Resolve. And ProRes RAW doesn't work in DaVinci Resolve. Blackmagic RAW does. And so I really hope that DaVinci does support ProRes RAW in the future. I've said this time and time again. I really wish that it did, but right now it doesn't. And simply because of that, it makes me lean towards the RAW recording on the Blackmagic 6K Pro. But that being said, that's only the case when I'm talking about the RAW recording. As an overall package, I think it's very hard to deny what Sony give you with the A7S Mark III. You get a fantastic image quality, full frame sensor with superb dynamic range and colors. You get incredible low light performance, up to insane high ISOs. You get 4K 120 frames a second. You know, you get a choice between a RAW output and a smaller compressed codec inside it. You get audio recording with that K3M attachment, or if you go for like the FX3 rather than the A7S Mark III, you've got the handle unit that goes on top of the FX3 like that. You know, Sony offer a lot. They're a much more well-rounded camera for people that have to go for a variety of different styles of work. But if you know you just want the max image quality and the best raw recording for the budget you possibly can get, the Pocket 6K Pro is probably better for you. So that would be my recommendation. You really only really interested in that maximum image quality in the raw recording, go for the Blackmagic. You are more interested in a practical tool which will straddle all sorts of different styles of work much more comfortably, then maybe the A7S III. Okay, Sky London. How different is the Aperture F7 to the Lupo Smart Panel, the very small one? Quite different. They're both very bright. The Lupo is brighter. The Lupo has a narrower beam angle than the Aperture. The Aperture's got a slightly longer beam angle. The Lupo is also smaller. It's quite chunkier, but it is smaller. Dan, could you look up the light meter readings? I think we did. Actually, I think we did. I've got them here on my laptop. I'll look them up, actually. I think we did test the F7. So I should be able to tell you. So when we get a light here in our showroom, we do a light meter reading ourselves, which is what the ones we use in our videos. There we go. So this is the Aperture F7. Come on, go on to the big screen. Why is that? There we go. How weird. Oh, it's because I was in full screen, that's why. So sorry about that. So having a nightmare. Right. So the smart panel is much brighter. So on the left we have the Aperture Contender. This is the Aperture F7 light meter readings with 1700 lux basically. And then the Lupo on the right with 4,500 lux. So the Lupo is significantly brighter, you know, nearly 3 times as bright. And it's also smaller. So the Aperture, what the Aperture is good for is a bright on-camera light. You know, that's what they built it to be, and it just sort of blasts some light at whatever is in front of it. Not the prettiest light in the world, but a very practical get you out of jail card. The Lupo is a narrower beam angle, it's a harder source, and it's a brighter fixture. So what I really love the Lupo for is just chucking into situations, being a little accent light in the background, being a backlight behind people. I'm not using it here, but it's the one we use for the majority of our videos when they're based elsewhere in the showroom other than here at my desk. And so it's a very practical little utility light, sort of in the same way as people would use small little Fresnel lenses, like a 300 watt tungsten or a dado light or something like that. So you can sort of use it in a similar kind of way. It obviously doesn't spot or flood, but it shines a very large amount of light in a fairly targeted little area, which is really nice for picking out bits of interest in a video. Okay, the Cubase is saying, thanks for clarifying. I didn't realise ProAV was all I. Yes, it is. Also, thanks for doing these live streams. Really appreciate you guys spending the time. No problem. It's what we're here for. Mikaro says, why are so many filmmakers saying that they would go with the Blackmagic for big projects and the A7S Mark III for fast shoots? Well, I guess it's because of the same thing that I was talking about there. You know, the Blackmagic prioritizes image quality rather than anything else. And so, you know, if you're willing to take the time, like, to get the best image quality, the Blackmagic is a really great tool. And that, you know, reflects on the big project side of things. That's what big projects are normally like. For fast work, you need a utility camera, which is just going to create the best images possible in as quick a time as possible. And for things like that, that's where Sony have always excelled. You know, that's Sony's area. And Canon have also, you know, that's their area. You know, they've always been very, very strong at that sort of work, whereas Blackmagic absolutely comes from the more constructive narrative sort of style work. And so I think part of that is brand prejudice, but another part of it represents the subtle differences between each camera. But, you know, like I said, both of those cameras are stunning in image quality. You could take either one into each other's situation and they would do a good job. Okay, Muko, would you recommend the Amaran 200 buy to an outdoors hybrid shooter? No, I wouldn't. The Amaran ones don't have any battery power. So the 200X, is it? Yeah, the bicolor, the 200X. So they don't have any battery power built into them. So you've got to have that separate unit. So for the outside sort of shooter, I would absolutely recommend you go for the LS brand. So it would be the 300X, the Lightstorm. So, you know, you have to pay a fair amount more. You know, this is Aperture's much longer standing, more professional lineup. These ones will work far better outside because they can be run off battery power easily because they have this separate ballast control. The Amarans out of the box are mains power only. They have a battery add-on that you can like, but once you get that, you're then mixing several products. You're getting towards the price of the LS in the first place. One thing Dan has just pointed out to me is that if you're outdoors, normally you want the vast amount of brightness, and also normally you're contending with the sun, which is a daylight fixture, and so therefore the D options might well be better than the daylight only options might be better than the bicolor options, because you don't really need the bicolor, and if you do, you can gel it, of course, and you're going to get far more brightness. So the 300D Mark II would be this one. It's actually a little bit cheaper as well. There we go, got 6 in stock. The Aperture 300D Mark II V-mount, that one would probably be my recommendation. There's also the Nanolight, which are very good. There's the Nanolight 300, which is that little bit cheaper. This would also be a very good choice. I really like the Nanolights. I think they're built really nicely. They're really strong contenders to the Aperture. So yeah, there you go. Thomas is saying, which B camera would you choose for a Blackmagic Pocket 6K with EF, Sigma EF lenses and autofocus, please? The best B camera is always the same camera if you can afford it and if size allows. The Pocket 6K is a small camera, and it's a camera that is really quite hard to beat from a price point of view for something that is powerful. So you could go for a Blackmagic Pocket 4K, but you know, once you're adapting it for that EF lens to share the same lenses as the 6K, you might as well have gone for a 6K in the first place. So to be honest, the B camera that I would choose for a Blackmagic Pocket 6K is another Blackmagic Pocket 6K. You know, they're of a decent price that you're going to struggle to find something as good or can match with it well for that kind of price point, and they're very small anyway. So you know, if that's your camera, I would go for 2 of them. What DAS would you suggest for editing 4K? I don't know off the top of my head. By DAS, you're talking about attached storage, so a NAS drive. Is that what your yeah, NAS, NAS drive, network attached storage. There are a few. I would look at Promise. I would look at G-Tech, that sort of ones. Promise are very good. Okay, Thomas, and what light for gimbal work? Yeah, Pocket 6K again. Simon Barrett, hi, are there any simple universal camera cages which would fit something such as a Canon Legra HF G25? Ideally something which would fix the underside of the camera on the tripod screw. Thank you. You're not going to get a universal camera cage because all different cameras are very. You're not going to get a camera to fit this, and a camera to fit a cage to fit this, and a cage to fit your G25, and a cage to fit a C200. You know, it just won't happen. And so there are universal base plates which you could look at. So Small Rig do good ones, Zacuto, Shape, pretty much any brand out there does good base plates that are universal. So I would look at those. The Small Rig one is very popular. Let's show it to you. I can't find it now. I can't find it now. Not sure why I can't find that. If you get in touch, I'll be able to find that one for you and recommend you something that will work. Okay, Globetrotter Mike says Blackmagic Pocket 4K with the speed booster or the 6K Pro. Pick one and why the 6K Pro every single day of the week because of all the enhancements that the 6K Pro brought. That EVF is worth its weight in gold. Tiltable high brightness LCD screen, built-in ND filters, 2 XLRs. All of that stuff is so useful. I would absolutely choose the 6K Pro. Okay. Signor Sigor says, what do you think of the C70 with the Canon Brand Straight 3EF versus the focal reducer? I think I would like to keep the Super 35 focal length, plus it's 500 cheaper. If you want to keep the Super 35 focal length, stick with the normal one. The focal reducer is going to make your field of view wider, but it's also going to shrink your autofocus size down, and it means that you can only use full frame lenses. If you use the normal straight pass-through EF adapter, or the one with the built-in ND, or the one with the control ring on it, you can just use normal EFS lenses, you can use EF lenses, you can use all sorts of different styles of glass on that. You're going to keep the whole width of the autofocus performance. It's going to be cheaper. You know, unless you want to make that field of view wider, then that's the only reason to go for that focal reducer. Lots of people do. If you don't, if you just want to keep the Super 35 focal length, just go for the normal one. Oh, Holden, I missed a question from Holden about the fluid head. So Dan has put it here. So I recently bought the Satchler Ace XL fluid head, and it was so much better than any of the Manfrotto fluid heads I've been using. Now I'm interested in the Satchler FSB head as well. How's it compared to the Ace? I completely agree. I would take a Satchler head, even the Ace XL, which is their entry-level one. I would take it any day of the week over Manfrotto's lineup. It's a much better built fluid head for video work. On the more affordable line versus Manfrotto, if anyone can't stretch to the price of the Satchlers, E-Image is the brand that I recommend as well. They have similar sort of performance for more Manfrotto price points rather than having to step up in price point. But specifically to your question, Holden Kim, the FSBs are great. In order to get something with the same payload as the Ace XL, you've got to go quite a bit higher. So in price point, the Ace XL accepts a really wide range of payloads and does it all to an okay standard. The FSBs, as you start looking at the 4, the 6, the 8, whatever you start looking at, they become much narrower windows. If you go even higher in price point to the new Actives heads, then you get your wide payload range back again, and you get the new quick release. But again, you are going up in price point. The Active, oh, that's not how you spell that. So let's go for the Active 8 or the Active 6. So I try and push people towards the Active 8 because the 8 really has a much wider set of features, much more settings on it for counterbalance and fluid. It feels like a much better head. The 6 though is significantly cheaper. £500 cheaper. And actually, we've got it in stock. The 8 we've sold out of, whereas the 6 we've got 9 in stock, which is interesting to see. I would, rather than go for the FSB, now just go straight to that. Mukaro Films, what's the difference you get what's the question you get the most on this kind of stream? Oh god, it's very, very varied. I get a lot of your follow-up question, FX6 or C70. I get a lot of that. I get a lot of, what do you think about this unreleased camera? That sort of thing, which unfortunately all I can do is say I'm not allowed to talk about unreleased cameras because of NDAs and legal issues for obvious reasons. Video Editor Bloke says, in the queue for an Activate, I will finally throw a party when it arrives. Yeah, they are taking a long time to get to people. They really, really are. But yeah, Mukari, I actually don't get the same question too often. They come up with some fairly varied questions on these shows, which is absolutely great to see. That's part of the reason that I really enjoy doing these, is a lot of the time the questions are very, very different to one another. Right, I think let's call it there. So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for all your questions. I hope that was helpful. And we will be, we'll be back next week. And we're also going to have a couple more streams coming up, which will be quite exciting next week. So keep in touch for that. The week after that, we've got a huge week for content, but I'm not going to be at work that week. So we won't be doing any live streams the week after that. But next week we are, and we've got some interesting ones lined up for you, which I haven't shouted about yet, but I will do when the time comes. So thank you all very much for watching. If you want to buy, of course, any of the things we've talked about here, just head over to proav.co.uk and talk to our sales team. They will be happy to help you out. So cool. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
XS Wireless Digital is the perfect wireless audio solution for content creators and filmmakers. Thanks to a 2.4 GHz transmission, XS Wireless Digital is a truly plug-and-play system that allows you to upgrade your in-camera audio with one-button operation. With a variety of configurations to choose from, this entry point into the world of wireless will improve your workflow and will expand the possibilities of how you capture audio for your video. For more information, visit sennheiser.com/xswd.
The new Super 35 sensor that Canon have introduced with the C300 Mark III is quite a big step up from other S35 sensors that they have created before. From the body and the flexibility that gives us in terms of the expansion packs and the interchangeable mount, to the sensor with its increased dynamic range for tackling scenes that possibly we couldn't have tackled or captured faithfully before, I can get more out of this camera. My money goes further. It's as simple as that from a business standpoint. From a creative point of view, it's unquestionably unlocking more creative avenues for us as filmmakers.